Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Do I look 5 years older? Really? So 5 years ago, we started 5 Things I Learned Today, and you can imagine how many things that is. Actually, I tried to do the math, but we're going to break them down into 5 sections. We've got photos, videos, time lapses, tech, and art. So here's top 5 from each one of those categories. Of all of the thousands of photos that we've collected over the years, some of our favorite series include the one called Children and Where They Sleep. It shows the different sleeping and living conditions of children around the world. There's this really sort of artistic, clear-eyed vision of Robert Goodsfried with his series about outdoor pools and bowling alleys and subway stations. It was great. There's these amazing sort of otherworldly images of lighthouses covered in ice on Lake Michigan. There's this fun project called Young Me Now Me that shows, as you can guess, somebody young and old and the passage of time there. And then finally there's this great, like, hyper-realistic makeup series that showed photos of people, but they looked like comic book squares because it was that sort of graphic and clear. Those are some of our favorites over the years. Of all the time lapses that we've covered, my absolute favorite was the one from the International Space Station that showed the Earth as it flew over. But there are other great ones, including that just stunning, gorgeous one of the night skies in Yosemite, just absolutely beautiful. There's an amazing time lapse up on Mount Everest. That one's gorgeous. There's one about the Carnival in Rio and Sao Paulo that's just great, called the City of Samba, I believe. And then there's this amazing one called Tokyo to San Francisco in 83 seconds. It shows the entire flight across the Pacific. I wish I could go through all of the amazing art that we've covered. There's really been so much of it. But some of our favorites include the Hobo Nickels, which you'll have to look up to understand what those are exactly. There was the 8-bit watercolors, where an artist reimagined some very recognizable paintings and graphics, but in the 8-bit style, but using watercolor. Those are pretty amazing. There was the kind of traditional Japanese style landscapes, but covering modern subjects like airplanes and rocket launchers. It's really got a nice little wink to it. There was the Shank Shack, where an artist challenged himself to create 30 different stabbing implements in 30 days and gets really creative about what materials he uses. And then another great one is the X-ray art, where it looks at flowers in a real sort of botanical way, but they're actually X-rays. And now for the videos. There have been so many great ones, but our favorites include the very first Gymkhana by Ken Block. We've covered a number of them, but that first one really just sort of took our breath away. That was absolutely stunning. There's one from a friend of ours named Brandon Lee called The Docks of Dubai that sort of showed the day-to-day life of the multicultural space that is now Dubai along the docks. There's this chilling video about surfing in Iceland amongst the icebergs and the glaciers. You have to watch it for yourself. Then a long time ago, there was one that we covered called speed flying, which is a combination of downhill skiing and paragliding through the canyons and rock walls of the Alps. And then to round it off, there's the Norwegian summer bonfire, this just absolutely ginormous bonfire that apparently they burn every single year. Of all the tech or science coverage that we've had, perhaps my absolute favorite is the microscopic views of different alcoholic beverages. It's really kind of interesting how different they are, from margaritas to tequila to whiskey to vodka, all very, very different. Another one is ferrofluid, which is essentially a magnetic liquid. So there's an artist that used that interesting properties to make these really vibrant and beautiful photos. Another one was a series that showed the physiology of people doing yoga, these X-rays of people doing yoga, so you really get a sense of how their bodies work. Then there was a scientist and an artist who hand-colored these X-rays of deformed frogs and frog reliquaries. It's just a gorgeous sort of melding of art and science. And then finally, of course, there is always the high-speed film photos of alcohol being burnt and how much it looks like the brain. It's very interesting. These are 5 years of 5 Things, and I am Ryan Nance.